In this video, we are covering single strategy, patterns of play, and percentages that are all backed by data to improve your on-court performance, and it's all coming up right now. Before you hit the court, whether you're playing singles or any competitive environment, you want to have a game plan. You want to know what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. For myself, I would consider my serve and my placement of my serve to be my strength, as well as my forehand being able to dictate play and move forward. My weaknesses would be my inability to apply heavy topspin to my backhand and making unforced errors when on the run. The next component to your game plan would be, who is my opponent? What are their strengths and what are their weaknesses? They may have a very big forehand and a strong serve, but perhaps they don't like to come forward or they're not very good up at net. Once you figure out what your opponent's weaknesses are, you can try to come up with a game plan of how you can try to match your strengths to your opponent's weaknesses while hiding your weaknesses from your opponent. A good example of this would be Nadal, how he utilizes his forehand to attack his opponent's weaknesses, and rarely is he looking to hit backhands. He has the best forehand in the world, so he's going to try to set up patterns of play that favor him hitting his forehand frequently and being able to run around his backhand. It's important to be a student of the game. You want to know what the top players in the world are doing and look to copy their patterns. There may be pros out there that have similar games to yours, and you may be able to take their strengths that match your strengths and apply the same patterns. When you put together a game plan, you want to be thinking about the first 4 shots. Your serve, where would that return go? And then is it setting up my strength? And where do I want to take that ball? Remember, it's easier to focus on forcing errors. What you want to do is you want to think about, what is my opponent not going to like, and how can I help them play terrible? It's a lot easier to make your opponent play bad than to play great tennis yourself. Primary patterns are done 75% of the time and secondary patterns 25% of the time. So for example, a primary pattern of Roger Federer's is to serve out wide to set up his forehand to hit into the open court, and a secondary pattern may be to serve and volley. When we're watching tennis on TV, it's easy for us to fall into the belief that the best way to play is from the baseline, because everybody seems to be playing from the baseline these days. However, that's not the case. In tennis, there's multiple ways to force an error. However, depth is the most important. Not only by keeping the ball deep are you applying pressure to your opponent, but you're also making it difficult for them to attack you. If they decide to take a deep ball and try to go aggressive with it, they're taking on a lot of risk. So it's a win-win. A matter of fact, only 46% of points are won from the baseline. Approaching and serving and volleying are in the high 60% range. That's just a good indicator and a reminder that mixing it up and looking to come to net is beneficial and provides the highest win percentages in pro tennis as well as recreational play. When playing your tennis matches, you also want to come up with serve patterns. Primary serve patterns and secondary serve patterns. Primary serve patterns are going to be used to get you up in the score, and they're going to be done around 75% of the time. For example, Roger Federer uses his serves out wide on the add and do side to open up the court, so then he can take his forehand into the open court. And second serves on the pro tour, it's almost unanimous. People are taking their second serves to the opponent's backhand or backhand body, trying to jam their opponent. These serve patterns could be different for you, especially based on the opponent that you're playing. When returning serve in singles, one thing that you want to keep in mind is that as the returner, your main objective of returning your opponent's first serve is to neutralize it. So aiming deep down the middle is a very strong play for your first serve return. On the second serve, you have about a 50-50% chance of winning the point. So what you want to do is you want to look to go on the offense. You can step up and take the ball early like Murray or Djokovic do, or you can run around it and try to hit your strength like a forehand like Nadal does. When you're going big, you also want to pick a big target. That way, when you're swinging out on your returns, there's a lot of court around your target in case you're a little bit off. When I was learning how to play tennis as a junior, my coaches used to always say, cover the line. When you come up, cover the line. That's like in the tennis Bible. However, statistics show that the primary passing shot is actually the cross-court roll, followed by the secondary passing shot as being down the line. If your opponent has a difficult time hitting topspin, covering the line is a very good idea, because if they're hitting the ball relatively flat, it's going to be hard to get the ball by you hitting a flat ball, because they're not going to have the same angle if you keep your approach shot deep. Now, if you come in and your opponent has a lot of topspin and then it can really roll the ball, then they're probably going to be going for that primary pattern, a passing shot, cross-court roll. So you just got to be on your game, know your opponent, and then cover the shots based on what they're hitting. If they hit one winner, that's fine, but if they do it 3 times, you better start covering it. Let's talk a little bit about the different zones in tennis. There are different zones in which will dictate the way that you want to play. If you're 6 feet behind the baseline, you are more defensive and you are going to want to hit the ball higher over the net and trying to keep it deep. This is not a place where you're going to be trying to be aggressive and take control of the point. When you're neutral, you're between 4 feet behind the baseline to around the baseline. This is where, again, I would suggest that you're hitting the ball relatively high over the net, trying to keep the ball deep to push your opponent back to create an opportunity where you can attack. When you are positioned in the attacking zone, you're inside the baseline. This is where you can flatten out your shots, try to take it to your opponent, or come up with angles to open up the court. When you are attacking, you want to try to go about a racket length above the net. So between a racket length above to net level, that's where you want to be hitting your shots. And then the kill zone applies the same way to the attacking zone. If you're neutral and defend, higher over the net, a couple racket lengths above the net. If you're attacking and killing, then you want to go lower over the net, create angles, or flatten it out. Let's talk about my favorite pattern to play, the 2-1. In this pattern, you're going to be hanging out a little bit more in the ad side if you're a righty. So then you're opening up your forehand, trying to bait your opponent into hitting there, while hitting forehands deep to your opponent's backhand cross court, trying to apply pressure with depth and height over the net. Followed by, once they hit you a ball that you're comfortable with, you can try to take it out wide to where I have that 2 located. And by doing this, now they're deep off the court and they're stretched wide off the court, which makes it very easy to take the 3rd ball to the open hole, where it makes for an unremarkable winner. It's a great play. It's one that I really enjoy doing. The next pattern to play that's fairly common on tour is the backhand cage. This is the one that Rafa Nadal made famous. No matter where his opponents hit the ball, he was looking to hit his forehand to his opponent's backhand. They're stuck there defending with their backhand, which is more of a shield, where Rafa is taking his forehand, delivering his sword time and time again. So the backhand cage, you're just pounding your best shot to your opponent's backhand until they miss. Here's a video of my buddy Phil and I playing, and I'm executing the 2-1. So I took him deep, then took him off the court, and then it was an easy winner to the open court. At this point, Phil is doing the backhand cage. He's making me run like crazy. I'm trying to get the ball away from my backhand as best as I can, but by doing so, now I'm hitting to his strength, which is his forehand, and it's just a matter of time before it catches up with me and he beats me. When playing tennis singles, it's very common to see the serve plus the forehand in sequence. There's a 2-to-1 winner ratio when you hit your serve and then a forehand compared to your serve and a backhand. That's why you see so many pros on tour try to set up their serve followed by a forehand. This statistic was an eye-opener for me. the number of shots per point in tennis. 70% of points are over within the first 4 shots. 5 to 8 shots are only 20% of the points, and 9+ rallies are only 10% of the points played. The takeaways from this is spend more time on your serves and returns and that first ball. That's how you want to be practicing. Here's some more keys for success. Be prepared to lose 45% of the points. My dad used to tell me, if you're going to serve and volley, or if you're going to be an attacking player, you have to have thick skin. Be prepared to lose points. You only need to win 55% of the points to dominate the match. The match is being played during the point, but it's also being played in between. So you want to be controlling your emotions, staying focused, being in the present, and there's a lot of good resources out there to help you do so. I'll link to one of my videos up in the right-hand corner, which will take you to mental tips to make sure that you can shake off mistakes easily and stay in the game. 1 point can change everything. In tennis, it's all about momentum. Don't take any point for granted. Play every point as best as you can because it could shift the tide. 80% of points played in tennis and in airs. Chase the 80% by making your opponent uncomfortable, resorting in them making unforced errors. Don't go out there and try to play fabulous when it's so much easier to make your opponent play bad. Work on hitting run-around forehands. We know that there's a 2-to-1 winner ratio between forehands and backhands, so that's what you want to be practicing. Practice running around your backhand, developing that forehand into a winner. It will pay off down the road. Court positioning. C+ is where professionals players stand the most, and this is where you want to be standing. We know that there's a 2-to-1 winner ratio between forehands and backhands, so by positioning yourself in C+, it makes it easier for you to hit your forehand and run around your backhand. More winners, more chances for you to be hitting your strength. When you're hitting the practice court, spend 80% of the time developing your strengths and 20% of the time minimizing weaknesses. Lastly, play more than you practice. If you take away anything from this video, remember 70% of the points end within the first 4 shots. So it's not about hitting 20 balls in a row. It's about developing your serve, your return, your serve and first ball, return and first ball to put pressure on your opponent and help them make unforced errors. That's how you're going to win more matches. Below is a tennis single strategy framework. This was really developed by Craig O'Shaughnessy. He verbalized it, and then I just went into a graphic design program and created it, and now I use it on the court for myself and my clients. So if you guys want any of these resources, just go to tennisnation.com and you'll get all this here without taking any notes. That's it for today's video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed the single strategy and percentages and that you're taking something away to the practice court. As always, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.